In this episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief, I sit down with Jeff to talk all about Draconis Invasion, Wrath, dark fantasy deck building game that has one more week on the Kickstarters ending the 1st of October. So hang on until after these sponsors to find all out about that. And then hang on until after our interview when we'll bring you 7 great games that are currently on the Kickstarter for our Kickstarter Corner. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is proudly being powered by TradeWarz, a game of kings. The Game of Kings is a 5X empire building game in resource management, strategy, and military might, where you zealously need to rule. The miniatures look amazing, and you only have 5 days to get in on the fun that is TradeWarz, a game of kings. Head on over to the Kickstarter currently to check out this great campaign. Just click the link in our show notes. That's the easiest way to get there. This episode of Getting Geeky with Game Relief is also proudly being powered by Kill Merlin, a new board game for 2 to 4 awful wizards. You heard me right, 2 to 4 awful wizards from the Schumann Family Games, in which you buy ingredients, learn spells, cast spells against your opponents, and be the first to defeat Merlin so that all may revere your glory. They reach their goal in 11 hours, and they're still until the 18th of October, so about 25 days or so, for you to get in on the fun of Kill Merlin, a new board game for 2 to 4 awful wizards. Head on over to the Kickstarter page right now to check it out. There's some awesome art on this great game. Now, let's get on with the show, shall we?
Getting Geeky with Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
For 3 years, you hunted us. You chased us into the shadows. You believed the invasion was over. You believed the war was won. That an age of peace and prosperity had come. You were mistaken. We've been waiting patiently, growing ever more powerful in the darkness, while you grew arrogant and weak. Soon you will know true terror. Soon you will beg us for mercy. Soon you will cower before the armies of Draconis. Soon you will feel our wrath.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but that's the story or narrative behind Draconis Invasion, Wrath, a dark fantasy deck building game. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator and mastermind behind this great deck building game, Jeff. Is that correct, Jeff? Is that how you fall in line with Draconis Invasion?
That's right. That's me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. We really appreciate it, Jeff.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. I'm glad to be here.
No problem. Glad we could catch up with you. Now, before we get into this great deck building game you've created and whatnot, let's rewind a little bit if we could. We don't have to go back too terribly far, of course, unless you were born into tabletop board gaming. But how did you get started into playing board games and whatnot?
Yeah, about 5 years ago, I started to discover a lot of the new kind of board games coming out and the stuff that's kind of hot on the BGG list. Before that, I didn't really play too much tabletop other than, your typical party game or your typical family game that you find at Walmart. But then a few years back, I I was at the Chicago Toy Fair, actually. I was there pitching a different toy I had at the time called Brobo, but they were selling a bunch of board games, and I saw games like Puerto Rico and Power Grid and Agricola, and I got really curious, like, what are these about? And kind of Googled them, tried to find out information, bought some because like there was a really good price on actually on Puerto Rico, and started to fall in love with like Euro games and kind of medium light strategy games. And that kind of started everything like 5 years ago.
Awesome. So do you have what's your current favorite game, would you say?
Oh, that's a tough question. Every time people ask that, it kind of depends, right? Like it depends on the crowd I'm with. And, sometimes my favorite game is never the game I get to play. Like my crowds play a lot of like Avalon, for example, which I love. But when it comes down to favorites, I still really like a lot of the Euro games that I never get to see at the table anymore. So like Agricola, Puerto Rico are probably my top two.
Awesome. But yeah, unfortunately, you don't get to play them. I hear you. We don't get a lot of games to the table as well. Do you have quite a collection that you don't get ever play, or have you played all your games?
Yeah. I actually have boxes in my garage now because, the games that come out a lot, they stay in, they're in a shelf in my room. And then the games that I feel like I just never get unless there's a huge game night or, they have Extra Life with like Sick Kids Hospital. So sometimes you just bust out a bunch of games and you play for 24 hours. Those are all just unfortunately sitting in a box in my garage.
Oh boy, at least you have a spot for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, word on the street is, Jeff, you created a new game on Kickstarter. What can you tell us about Draconis Invasion, Wrath, the dark fantasy, the deck building game?
Yeah, so Draconis Invasion started off as an idea about 4 years ago, and I was developing really my second board game that I was designing, and it sort of came to life over the course of a year. I connected with an amazing artist in Greece, actually. His name's Manthos Lapis, who had just this incredible, like dark, really rich fantasy art. And before I knew it, I thought, okay, well, I have the art, I have these mechanics I've been working on for a year, and it was very inspired by so many of the deck builders that I, at the time, loved to play. And it came to life, and that was 3 years ago when I did the original game on Kickstarter. It did 78,000. That's in Canadian dollars, though. And I was really encouraged by that. And then in the course of the next 3 years, actually mostly being very busy with other game designs, this expansion came to life. And so it's basically, a very typical deck builder in most of its mechanics, which I think people like in that it's simple and familiar. But then we added different layers to it that kind of give it a different twist that people have really enjoyed. And so it's currently on Kickstarter now. And
awesome. Yeah, I love deck builder myself. Don't get, like we talked about, I don't get much of time to play them or whatnot, but I like Star Realms as well as, I think Star Realms and Cthulhu Realms are the main ones that I've been able to play. I recently picked up, Megaland from Target or whatnot. Haven't been able to get it to the table. Well, it's on the table, but haven't been able to play it yet. So deck builder, you talk, before that you came out with Draconis, did you have a favorite deck builder, or was there inspiration where'd the inspiration behind Draconis come from?
Actually, it's funny you mentioned Star Realms. I was just hanging out with the people at White Wizard at Origins, and I got to play Star Realms for the first time. I had, I'm ashamed to say, and it was amazing. It's a great game. I played a lot of Dominion back in the day, and I really enjoyed that game. I loved how fast it would move. In most cases, that's before the expansions. I didn't find that it moved as fast as just the original Dominion, which I enjoyed. I also used to play a lot of Resident Evil deck builder that a friend introduced me to, and that has a large influence in Dominion. I enjoyed Legendary, and I actually really liked the DC deck builder, but I haven't touched that for a while. But those were some of the deck builders that I loved and influenced the game a lot.
Awesome. And you talked about adding the expansion, or you talked about adding some more depth besides just the regular deck builder. What can you tell us about that, Jeff? Yeah,
some of the things that I tried to implement in this game are the idea that there's this urgency, that there's a sense of urgency that's happening as players get this junk in their hands. So there's certain junk cards called Terror. And, thematically, it's the idea that your armies are fighting these invaders, these hordes of bad guys are coming in, and you're trying to pay these defenders to fight them. And actually, you pay them not only once to enter your deck, but you pay them every time you want to use them to fight. So there's this balance where you're constantly having to have fighters, but have enough gold constantly in your hand as well to use those fighters. And then every once in a while you get this terror. This is kind of like affecting your army and bogging you down as the war goes on. And that terror drives up a thing called the terror die. So there's a little die in the game that kind of counts up, and every time it hits 6, an event card hits the table basically and hurts the person who's in the front, who's in the lead. And so that sort of concept creates this almost like a sense of dread that you're always like fighting uphill. And it actually sometimes rolls real fast. The terror die starts going, counting up really fast as the game progresses, because more and more terror can bog down your hand.
So you almost don't even want to win until the very last minute then.
Exactly. Some people choose to not be ahead because, there's in a way a blue shell that's going to hit you. But if you wait too far behind, like last night I was playing a game with some friends, and they kind of want to wait till later to start getting some kills. But then at the very end, my team, we were playing a team v team variant. My team won because we just sort of like had just enough space between us and the next team. So just like a lot of games, you want to wait, but you don't want to wait too long.
Oh, okay. So maybe like you talked about a blue shell. So maybe they got to a point, and the big bullet or the chain that you can have pull you through the game didn't get them far enough to get ahead of you?
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool mechanic, as well as it sounds like, because I remember in Star, like I said, it's been a while since I played Star Realms, but I remember you have like different bases or whatnot that you can put down. It sounds like your fighters might be similar to that, but you have to, in order to use them, you have to pay. Is that correct?
That's right. So like one of the things that people have commented a lot and has been a completely different balance if you're not used to it, is the idea that you can't just, get a bunch of money, buy a bunch of soldiers, and then send the soldiers out without money, which is kind of, a common way of doing things. But in this one, if you get all those soldiers, but you can continue to pay them money, then they're just useless. They won't fight for you. They want to get paid every time you send them out. So then that balance is kind of a hard balance to figure out. And especially if you're new to the game and you're not used to that kind of style, it's kind of jarring. So you have to kind of get used to how do I perfect that equilibrium so that I can kill people later in the game and still have enough money to pay those soldiers.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds about right. I always tease my brother. Well, I didn't, not necessarily tease, but talk to my brother and other people because I was in the military for a small stint, and luckily it didn't happen when I was in. But shortly after I got out, they had a day, like some days where they weren't getting paid or whatnot. And I told them I would have not made a good soldier, as I probably would have went AWOL if I wasn't getting paid. So it sounds like similar mechanic where you had to pay to use the soldier. So that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, on top of that, the Wrath expansion has a few different mechanics that we added to the game, which kind of shift things quite a bit.
How so?
One thing that the original core game, some people commented on, is that they wish there was more player interaction. And I noticed that some of the cards in the core game that had player interaction, like really were like a fun, kind of created a fun atmosphere. And so I extended that in the expansion, enhanced that, where there's far more player interaction in terms of like you can ally with people. So I might have, you're at the table and I might say, hey Blake, what if I help you this round? I got a card that lets you pick up an extra card, and then I know you got one of those cards too, so you help me when you draw that card. And then you kind of have these moments where people are helping each other. And let's say you get in the lead. Now I'm like, hey Blake, I can't let you pick up a card again, so I'm just going to give that special to somebody else. So there's a lot more of that going on in this version of the game. And as well as in the expansion, there's a lot more one-time use cards. So sometimes you're actually buying a defender that'll only fight for you once. Like he'll go out, he'll kill somebody, and then he leaves. You basically have to trash him, right? And so these mercenaries who show up, do damage, and then run away. So that's a new thing in the game. As well as we actually have a lot of, the way that it's set up is that there's a bunch of blind mini expansions. So you are constantly opening decks of, packs of new cards that you don't know, you don't know what's going to come up. So every time you play a new game, you actually open a deck of cards. That's kind of common. I've seen some games do that. So this deck builder also has that mechanic.
Awesome, but it's not like a CCG where I have to collect them all, is it?
Exactly. So no, you're not having to like buy new things at the store or anything, but it's more of I would say it's almost more of a secret reveal, right? So you don't know what's going to come up next game, and then everyone gets those things on the table. Or if you're really impatient, you can just open up everything as soon as you buy the game and just put them all, play them as you wish. But it's more for the fun of 10 games in, you're like, oh, what's this? Whoa, cool. And you discover something new, even though you've owned the game for a month.
Awesome. So how many secret packs would you say there are currently?
There are 12. So 12 secret packs that are set up in 12 battle stages.
Awesome. And are there going to be more with stretch goals, or are we stopping at 12?
Right now, the goal is to stop at 12, but we'll see. The campaign still has some time to go. Maybe it'll shift up.
Now, during play testing, Jeff, was there anything ever you had to scratch from both the base game as well as the expansion that just wouldn't work?
Yeah, well, with the expansion in particular, because that's more fresh in my mind, there was one thing that we were trying to play out, which was more of a legacy style. There was this idea of previous games affecting the next game, and even had the potential of actually like destroying cards in a very legacy style. But you know what? The more we played it, the more we're like, we don't like that. Like it was fun to if you don't do the legacy thing, if you don't dig that, you can just play each game almost independently, right? And it doesn't affect the previous games. Nothing's destroyed. So that was something that got scrapped, about 6 months ago.
Oh, good. I like the idea of the game changing whatnot, but me and my wife, it's kind of like sacrilege destroying the game. So I like the legacy kind of element that you added, that where you have the secret cards. That sounds good enough for me.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Draconis, what would you say the thing you're most proud of is, Jeff?
I've been really happy mostly with the two things that kind of come up a lot. The artwork, I have to admit, I'm kind of proud of it. Not proud in terms of me, because I didn't make any of the artwork. I'm not an artist. But I'm proud of the reactions that people have had towards the artwork. We sort of, outside of Manthos Lapis, we also have several other artists who have jumped on board, who help create the illustrations for this game. And every time I see their pieces of art for the different characters, I'm just like, I personally even just love it, and like it kind of wows me, especially because I didn't make it, so I don't have to feel conceited in that. It's just amazing artists who are submitting and contributing work to this game. So I think that's one. Two, I think the general feel and speed and pace of the game, I'm really happy with. Like even last night, we were doing some demo games at A Game Cafe and Snakes and Lattes in downtown Toronto, and watching people play for the first time and seeing them play their turn, especially if they can grasp the deck builder concept really fast, if they've played lots of deck builders. It's fun to see how they enjoy the different tweaks and layers to this game over other games, and the pace at which they're playing. And I'm kind of just watching and or involved in the play, and kind of happy that it runs smoothly. Because, to be honest, as a game designer, it's really easy to see the flaws in your own game. And it's so refreshing every once in a while when you're just watching, you're kind of on the outside looking in, and you can see people just enjoying themselves. Yeah,
I can imagine. So, yeah, we probably want to make a game that people enjoy themselves at, as opposed to one that they don't. So that's good. And
of course, nobody wants that.
And just scrolling through the page, the artwork does look amazing. Then you talk about the pace. How would that look? Like, what's the play look like? If I sit down to play this game with you, Jeff, what's my turn going to look like?
So I think the basic turn, and that's a bit different than other games, is that you start off playing an action card, which is like one of the green cards on the table. It does some special powers. We don't have too many chaining actions, and we did that on purpose. We didn't want somebody to sit there and, and their turn takes like 5 minutes because they're, draw 3 more cards, do this, draw 3 more cards, do this. And everyone's just waiting for them to draw like a billion cards. So we actually tried to kind of have a lot of those chains not to be too long. And after they did an action, they actually get a choice between buy, campaign, defeat, and eliminate. It's actually it all sets up to be A, B, C, D, E, F. So it's, there's an acronym, right, in a way. And so B is buy, and they can buy a card off table. Or it's all mutually exclusive. Or they can get new campaign cards, which are like missions and give you extra points. Or they can defeat somebody. They can defeat one of the bad guys. Or they can eliminate or trash one of the cards in their hand. And that makes it interesting. So this choice of which of those 4 things am I going to do is a different twist. And it actually leads to faster turns, because they can't buy something and then defeat something and then pick up new campaign cards. Like you do one of them and that's it. And but it's a hard choice because sometimes you can kill somebody, but you can also afford a really cool new card. So which one do you do? And then when you're done all that, you can actually forward an unused gold from your hand onto your deck. So then you can draw it next turn. So this idea that you can take gold that you haven't used this turn and take one of those cards and then use it next turn. And that's a typical turn, how it goes in rotation.
That's great that you only have one choice to make, but how does that affect people like myself? I hear I suffer from AP, or analysis paralysis.
I guess, to be honest, I guess you'd have to try it out and see, because I think, of course, there's always, we joke at certain tables with certain players, when you're sitting, you're waiting for them to make their decision, right? You're like, come on, man, let's go. So I wonder how it would work. I guess that'll be true for a lot of board games.
Awesome, man. You said, and it is a competitive, not co-op, is that correct?
Yeah, so even though everyone's fighting the same invading horde, we are all vying to be the new champion of the realm, the king's favorite war general. So you're all trying to kill the most points and get the most points by killing bad guys, even though we're not necessarily fighting each other.
Oh, good. Yeah, me and my family, we really like the co-op's okay, but we much prefer take that game or a competitive game where we can go at each other's throats. Right.
So like there are some cards where you can actually kind of hurt each other. And for example, there's a card where you can basically tell another player to discard or tell another player to trash even cards randomly from their hand. And so those kind of cards are quite mean. And so some people, they're into that. And some people, it kind of creates an interesting, fun tension in the game when you're doing that to each other.
I'd imagine. So during not during play testing, but while you've demoed and whatnot, what do you think has been the most notable experience, like seeing other people play it, would you say?
I think many of the play testers as well as the reviewers have all praised the expansion's interactiveness. So the fact that there is this a lot more of the take that or help this player or make an alliance with this player or sort of strategically come up with a way to help somebody, but then until that person realizes what you're doing is not helping them, you're actually kind of like screwing them over. So I think that interaction is a really fresh addition to the expansion over the base game, and I think people have really enjoyed that, and that's been fun to watch people play.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. Now, have any board game personnel previewed your game?
The expansion, I'm trying to top of my head. There's Undead Viking, who did a thing. There's Tantrum House, who did a review or a preview. There is, I should know this more fresh, To the Table Reviews did something.
Oh, that's okay. It sounds like quite a few of them have reviewed it then, and they all liked it from the sounds of it?
Yeah, the reviews have been very positive. The expansion has... I'm really happy that people have liked it so much.
Well, that's always good. Now, so you don't overpromise and underdeliver. If somebody goes ahead and backs it, when would they be able to add the expansion to their game?
Yeah, well, right now we're assuming 9 months. So the way it currently works on the Kickstarter is that you can buy the expansion by itself, but obviously if you don't own the game yet, you want to buy the core. So you can bundle the core game to the expansion. And there's two options for that. You can either buy the core right now and like it'll get shipped to you, in the next month or so. And so that's one option. And then you can wait for the expansion to be produced and delivered to you in June of next year. So that's one option. Or you can get both of them delivered to you next year and you save a bit on shipping depending on your location. And so it's about June of next year. I expect it to get delivered earlier than that, but I don't want to overpromise.
Yeah, for sure. Those are some great options. I recently had somebody on the podcast who had the expansion to his game on, but not the base game because he wanted you to be able to get that right now so you could buy it at the store or whatnot. But I think that's a better option as well, is where you can get the base game from the actual Kickstarter in about a month, like you said, and then you don't have to wait for the expansion. So that's kudos to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, we originally didn't even want to give the base game on the Kickstarter because we really want to support the retail stores. Because, game stores, they got to earn an honest buck, and we want them to get more foot traffic in the door. So even now on the Kickstarter campaign, we definitely promote that people should go to their local game store, ask their retailer, and they can get the game right away. It's already in distribution across the US and Canada.
Now, especially there's a bunch of games out there on the Kickstarters currently. I want to say there's, according to Tantrum House, there's at least more than 8. There's probably more than 8 that have launched today alone. So especially with all the other great games out there on the Kickstarter currently, why should somebody take a chance on Draconis Invasion Wrath, dark fantasy deck building game?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I guess I'm hoping that they'll look at it and they'll say, like, this is the type of game for me. I'm looking for a fast-paced, interactive card deck building game with like beautiful artwork, with in a way that's been proven. This is not a fresh new game that came out of nowhere. The base game is already very well rated, very good reviews. If you check out like Board Game Geek, I think it's sitting at 7.3 with I think around 300 reviews. And you can just read what people have to say. So I think part of it is just to know that you're not really taking a chance. If anything, you're getting an improved, enhanced version of a game that already was well received, that has different elements that some people call it. I don't want to toot my own horn, so I know I've heard a lot of people say it's their favorite true deck builder. And so I know those are big words. So at the end of the day, I guess you got to try it yourself. But I'm happy with the result of what we've designed.
Yeah, it looks awesome. So that's great. And like you said, they can go ahead and get the base game now at the retail store, or wait and get it from the Kickstarter or whatnot. Yeah, it looks like an awesome game. So yeah, we'll make sure we leave links in the show notes so everybody can go ahead and at the very least check it out if they like what they've heard, or just go over there to the Kickstarter page and scroll through, check out that art. Like you said, it looks amazing. So that's awesome. Now, the next portion of our show, Jeff, is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, or even a video game. It doesn't even necessarily have to deal with tabletop board games or deck building or anything like that. Is there an app you use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment?
I guess there is. I'm trying to think of something that would be applicable. I use a lot of just apps just for regular daily life. Yeah, to be honest, I almost try to stay away from too many gaming apps because I know how easily I can waste time and get addicted to things. So I can talk about some of like the functional apps I use.
For sure. Yeah, I can understand the addictability or whatnot. Like my Tetris game gets me in wraps for like 30-35 minutes until I end up losing.
I actually use a lot of audiobook apps. Do you use any of those?
Yeah, Audible, but mainly I've been focusing on my podcast. But yeah, I like Audible. What, do you use something else, or do you use Audible?
I love Audible. I also use podcast app. What is it called? Podcast Addict. So I use that as well a lot.
Well, I use podcasts on Apple, and I use also there's Podbean out there. I've used Pocket Cast when I didn't have an Apple phone or whatnot. What can you tell us about that app?
It's cool. Yeah, you can go on it. You can search for certain topics, and then it'll show you all the stuff. So I use it because I can read about whether I'm looking at like sermons, or I want to learn more about Kickstarter stuff, or I want to learn about like comic book movies. Like those are some of the topics I like. And so you search those things and you can find like the hottest podcast stuff out there, and then subscribe to those podcasts. And then they get sent in a way to that collection of on your podcast Addict. And then you just press play, and you can it'll tell you whether they've been listened to or not, and what's coming up in the queue. So yeah, it's pretty good app.
Oh wow, you can search topics. I really like that. That's pretty cool. I don't think Apple does that. Maybe they do. I'd have to look into it. But yeah, that's pretty cool that you can search topics and put those there. That's awesome. So just to improve or enhance that app, if you could do one thing to change it, what would that be, do you think, Jeff?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh, that's tough. What would I do to change it? I would... Oh yeah, they have their their user interface is kind of meh. I hope nobody who develops it is listening. But yeah, their user interface is a bit hard to use in terms of like you think everything would be one click, boom boom boom, and you get from here to there. But I find I'm having to like kind of drill down in certain areas and find things in an unintuitive way. You know what I'm saying, right? Like UI is a huge thing.
Yeah, so being able to utilize it, like when we go, I know Barnes and Noble and stuff, even their employees, a lot of them have talked about how their search engine or whatnot is not all that good or whatnot. But yeah, making it more user friendly, I guess.
It's making things easier to get to. Where if I want to play a certain podcast, I just want to go into like a really simple library. But this one, I have to kind of drill down to different options before I find exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, hopefully they'll get that fixed at some point for you, so that's awesome. But yeah, I really like that portion they talked about where you can search through topics. That sounds pretty cool. I know this isn't your first rodeo or whatnot, so you've created other games in the past and whatnot, and then you're working on the current expansion to Draconis Invasion or whatnot. Is there any dirt you can share with us of upcoming stuff after you're done with this Kickstarter and whatnot?
Yeah. So around the Wrath expansion, so other than doing this Kickstarter for Draconis Invasion Wrath, there is a bunch of stuff that got released this year, and that's getting released this year in 2018. So earlier this year, Blue Orange did one of my kids' games, like a kind of a family dexterity game called Mackie Stack, where you stack sushi. Then Smirk and Dagger did a game called Nuts So Fast, which is a reaction game where you have to grab these wooden nuts off the table. And so that's kind of a hilarious game that they released that I developed or I designed. And then what else is coming out? Later this year, there's 2 games coming out by Outset Media. One's called How Do You Doodle? So it's a bit of a thinky drawing game. And then the other one's called Woo Boo. That's designed by my business partner, Kim. And that one's more of a social game where you're trying to judge your friends. Like you look at, or not even your friends, even strangers. You look at someone at the table, you're like, oh, what is their opinion on this topic or that topic? Like, are they into Justin Bieber? Do you think that do they approve of the Trump administration? And so you're kind of like judging people at the table. It's called the game of preconceptions. And so that went out.
Now, do they do on the game of preconceptions? Do they know what card or what topic you're judging them on?
Yeah. So in Woo-Boo, you see the topics on the table, and then that person has to make their opinion face down. Either woo being thumbs up or boo being thumbs down, and then they make their opinion secretly, and then everybody's trying to guess what those opinions are, and then there's a reveal where you get to see what their opinions are, and everybody sort of gets points based on whether they're right or wrong.
That sounds like a pretty cool game.
Yeah, it's like a light party game. It's been pretty fun to play that different game nights.
So it sounds like you don't just do the games yourself. You're not just fully indie, but sometimes you go ahead and publish to other people. Usually it's one or the other, it seems like, from what I've seen or whatnot. How's that worked out for you?
Yeah, you know what? It kind of came by accident. 2 years ago, we had only self-published. Almost everything we did was ourselves through our company, Keji. And but then 2 years ago, I went to the New York Toy and Game Show, and I decided to start pitching some of my ideas because I had a lot of ideas for games, but I didn't personally really have the time or the resources to do it all myself. And then I started going to every show, Origins, Gen Con, Essen, and just pitching ideas to different publishers. And quickly in the course of the last 2 years, we've signed 9 different game ideas. And so that sort of came, I wouldn't say as a fluke, but that wasn't the original purpose. So it's actually kept me busy, even though I want to do things like Draconis and the expansion on Kickstarter. We've been very busy also with other publishers producing new games for them.
Oh, wow. So do you do this game design thing full time then, Jeff?
Yes, I do. I've been pretty blessed to be able to do this full time for the past about 6 years.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Now, minus coming there to your hometown, it sounds like you might be out of Canada or whatnot. Minus coming there to stalk you, how would people go about keeping up with your other games you have coming out or whatnot? How would they find you online? Sorry, Jeff.
Okay. I'm like, what's my home address if they want to stalk me? Yeah, if they want to find me online, you can basically go to www.kejitoys.com, KEJITOYS.com, and that kind of shows all the new products we're making. But maybe the best thing is just, add me on Facebook or, all these board game communities. I'm sure people are connected out there. You'll find me on those sometimes. And if you're in Toronto, pop by Snakes and Lattes. I'm there a lot for game design, for designer night. There's a lot of really amazing designers out there. So, yeah, those are some of the ways you can find me.
Awesome. And if you get us the links, we'll make sure we leave everything in the show notes. And definitely they can come over to the Draconis Invasion Wrath, the dark fantasy deck building game. Check that out on Kickstarter. Just click the link and they can follow along that way. Or if they like what they see, they can go ahead and click that little button, back this project, and go ahead and get Draconis, the expansion, as well as the base game or whatnot. So that's awesome.
Yeah, check it out. The Kickstarter ends on October 1st. So hopefully, right now we're at, I think, like 325% funded, and it's been really cool to see all the support and encouragement from the Kickstarter community.
For sure. Any final parting words about Draconis Invasion, Wrath, dark fantasy, deck building game, and why they should go ahead and take a chance on it, Jeff?
Yeah, for sure. Check out the page. We'll explain, some really good videos that explain how the game is played, what the game looks like. This is the gorgeous artwork by Manthos and different other artists, as well as different reviews that'll kind of give you some more confidence about what the game's about. And check BGG. They have a lot of reviews and ratings there, and I think that'll help get a general sense of what you're doing, and hopefully it won't feel like you're taking a chance, but just jumping into something that it has already been tested, played, and enjoyed.
For sure. And like I said, we'll make sure we leave links in the show notes or whatnot. But yeah, we don't want to keep you all day, but we really appreciate you coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief with us today, Jeff, to talk all about Draconis Invasion, Wrath, a dark fantasy deck building game.
Hey, thanks for having me on. It's been nice talking to you.
No problem.
What is this place? What is it doing here in the Leaves computer? Oh, it's Kickstarter Corner with the Leaves.
That was great, being able to sit down with Jeff to talk all about his great game that's on Kickstarter for another week. It ends this next Monday, so not today, but next Monday. So make sure you head on over to the Kickstarter Corner, well, the Kickstarters, I guess. And make sure you click our link, too. That'll give us credit for where credit is due. If you heard about it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, make sure you click that link so he knows that you were sent by Game Relief. Or just tell him, I guess. Anyways, let's see what else is on the Kickstarters currently, shall we? So this one is almost done. By the time you hear it, it'll probably have maybe a little bit over 48 hours, maybe less. So you'll definitely want to check it out. Project Management, a soul-crushing card game. It's a cynically satirical card game of office politics, set in the worst office environment of all time, a government department. I really hope they make it. Their card art is amazing, and we recently got the prototype in the mail. The box, just looking at the box, it looks amazing. It looks like a real game. Well, why would it be fake? No, it looks awesome. So definitely check out Project Management, a soul-crushing card game. If they don't make it, I hope they will revamp and relaunch. I recently sent a message to the Kickstarter creator. So hopefully we'll keep you up to date on Project Management, a soul-crushing card game. But in the meantime, head on over to the page and back it if you like what you see, so you can check it out. Yes, and Project Management ends tomorrow, Tuesday, the 25th of September at 5 a.m. So if you want to make this a reality, make sure you head on over there ASAP. Do you like dragons? Do you like Meeples? Why not check out Dreeples, Dragon Meeples, and Dreeple Wars Relaunch? Awesome game upgrades with an explosive board game option. Dreeples Wars, the war before the Meeple Wars. And awesome Dreeples that you can play on your board instead of Meeples. Why not throw dragons into Monopoly or Ticket to Ride or any of those fun games? Heck, you could even play a tiny epic game with a dragon instead. That'd be kind of cool. That way, if you played Tiny Epic Galaxies with Dreeples, you would have dragons in space, I guess. If you want to get this one, you have a little bit longer. It ends tomorrow, Tuesday, the 25th of September, at 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But definitely check out Dreeples, Dragon Meeples, and Dreeple Wars Relaunch on Kickstarter for a very limited time now. Talking about space, another game on Kickstarter is No Escape. No Escape is a competitive maze building take that game for 2 to 8 players. They did reach their goal, and you have through this Thursday, the 27th of September, to check out this game and see if you can escape from Titan Station from Own Board Games. So if you like what you see, go ahead or like what you heard, go ahead and jump over to check it out on the Kickstarter through this Thursday. We had the creator Jonathan on the show a while back. Another creator we had on the show was Christy, the creator or one of the creators of Cabooses in the Corner. All aboard, get train cars on track for departure by building trains from caboose to engine. The first to play all of their cards wins. This game, you got a little bit longer, but you'll want to get on it ASAP as well. There's about 7 or 8 days to go. It ends next Monday, the 1st of October. So while you're back in Draconis, the new expansion to that card game we talked about with Jeff, you can jump over and check out and back Cabooses in the Corner as well, as it ends about the same day. Next is Magnets, the game. It's a tabletop dexterity game with magnets. It's marbles of the 21st century, and it was really fun, I'll tell you that. I sat down with the Leafs this evening and we played it, and it was pretty fun. It doesn't end this Thursday, but it ends next Thursday, so if we play our cards right on our Family Fun Day Friday, me and the Leafs will be able to tell you all about Magnets the game. Either way, you should definitely head on over there and see what all the hype is about, and check out Magnets the game on Kickstarter. Did you listen to this last Family Fun Day Friday that we just had? If not, go ahead and pause this podcast and go back and listen. We'll wait for you. So, what did you think? I thought that was an excellent episode of Family Fun Day Friday myself. And the game is even better. Stupid Users Beta, that's right. Beta is a unique, fast-paced, ever-changing item-looting, army-building card game, which I unfortunately lost twice, if not more. But the kids really liked it, and I know you will too. So you better check out Stupid Users Beta. You got less than 2 weeks to go, as this ends on Saturday, the 6th of October. So check out Stupid Users Beta on the Kickstarters. Lots of talk of dragons these days. So, why not bring you another dragon game? Well, we'll do just that. Dragon Lords, the Battle of Darien Relaunch. It's a skirmish-based card game in which 2 players build armies and battle head-to-head. That's right, from Wolf Lord Games. This is a relaunch, but it looks like they're doing pretty good. They're about less than $800 away from their goal, and they're still a little bit less than 26 days to go to back this, as it ends on Friday the 19th of October. So definitely check out Dragon Lords, the Battle of Darien relaunch. That's currently on the Kickstarters. It looks fun, and if you forget and you want a reminder about this game and that it's still on Kickstarter, you know what you can do, as well as a way you can get updates on the podcast and different episodes we have going on. You can head over to our mailing list, or head over and join our mailing list, I should say, over at gamerleaf@gamerleafgo.com. Actually, that's my email. You want to get in contact with me, do that. If you want to join our mailing list and find out about great things that are on Kickstarter or episodes that we have out, go ahead and jump over to my website, which is gamerleafgo.com. That's kind of like Pokemon Go, but it's really Gamerleaf Go. So check that out, and we'll send you a reminder. Not this Monday, because you already got, if you were a subscriber, you probably got an update on this interview that I just had. But next Monday, you'll be able to find out all about Dragon Lords, as we'll send you an email. Well, anything else I should say? Do you want to have your game talked about on Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf? If you do, go ahead and message us on Facebook at Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf. Go ahead and search that, or Blake Leafty. Or you can always email us at gamerleaf@gamerleafgo.com, like I said. But probably the best way to do it would be to send us a Facebook message. I also have some other connections. I recently started working on the Giveaway Geeks team, so you can find us that way. I can also get you a couple more ways to advertise for your game, working with the Casual Game Insider, as well as got something worked out with the board game group, hopefully coming up in the near future. So those are several different ways that you can check us out, and that we can help you get your game noticed on the Kickstarters, as well as I work with Logan Shops and some other great people in the industry. So you never want to miss an episode, do you? Well, make sure you subscribe. If you want to help us out a little bit more, subscribe on iTunes. Search us on iTunes and subscribe. You don't have to listen there. And with the ratings and reviews really help, from what I hear. But anyways, it's our least favorite time, probably yours too. Time for us to get on with our lives, you to get on with yours. So in the meantime, I hope you all get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into the geek fold. And if you missed our Family Fun Day Friday episode, I'd encourage you to go back and listen to that. We had some really cute interviews. Little Leaf, or Queen Leaf as she likes to go by, our 4.5-year-old, told us all about Street Fighter, the game that's on Switch. As well as we got some very great insight from Princess Leaf as well as Wizard Leaf, who you might not have heard before as he hasn't been on the show very much, all about Stupid Users Beta. But anyways, we'll let you go now, but thank you for coming on and listening to Gamer Leaf. Appreciate it. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.